What is that for?
Would you hold still, please, sir?
There is a specific kind of villain that does not frighten you because of what they do. They frighten you because of what they reveal. About power, about humanity, about you. The darkest villains in fiction are not monsters hiding in the shadows. They are mirrors held up against civilization itself. Anton Chigurh. Anton Chigurh is, by nearly every serious analytical measure, one of the most philosophically constructed villains ever committed to screen or page. He appears in Cormac McCarthy's 2005 novel No Country for Old Men and was immortalized in the 2007 Coen brothers film adaptation by Javier Bardem,
And in the hands of the Coens.
who won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for the role. Chigurh is a hitman, but to call him only that is like calling a black hole simply a region of space. He moves through the world with an almost liturgical calm. His steps are deliberate. His voice never rises. His expression barely shifts. Where other screen villains perform menace, they snarl, they threaten, they posture, Chigurh simply is. He does not need to convince you he will kill you. His weapon of choice is not incidental. The captive bolt pistol, a tool used in industrial slaughterhouses to kill livestock, is a direct philosophical statement. But the most disturbing element of Chigurh is his moral framework, because he has one. He is not chaotic. He is not impulsive. He operates under a rigorous internal logic, a personal theology of fate and obligation. When he flips a coin and asks a gas station attendant to call it, he is not playing a game. He is conducting a ritual. He genuinely believes that the outcome of a coin toss is as legitimate a determinant of a life as any other force in the universe. This is the line that cuts deepest. You don't have to call it. The coin doesn't have any say. It's just you. He returns agency to his victims and then watches them fail to use it.
I don't know. I couldn't say. Call it. Call it, yes. For what? Just call it.
He is not taking your life. He is revealing that you never truly held it.
We need to know what we're calling it for here. You need to call it.
What Chigurh represents is the philosophical horror of absolute determinism dressed in human skin. He does not believe he is evil. He believes he is honest. He believes he sees the world as it actually is, indifferent, mechanical, unsentimentally fair, and that everyone else is simply too afraid to admit it. That is precisely what makes him so difficult to dismiss after the credits roll. Because somewhere beneath the violence, buried inside the cold logic, there is a question he is asking that no one wants to answer.
You don't have to do this.
People always say the same thing.
What did they say?
They say, you don't have to do this.
You don't.
Homelander.
Look at me!
Homelander is the central antagonist of The Boys, the Amazon Prime Video series based on Garth Ennis's comic book of the same name. On the surface, he is the most powerful superhero in the world, capable of flight, heat vision, and near invulnerability. He wears an American flag on his chest. He smiles for cameras. He saves lives on television.
I think I want to fly.
Beneath that surface lies something that the series spends 4 seasons carefully, methodically dismantling, one of the most psychologically precise depictions of narcissistic personality disorder and unchecked authoritarian power ever constructed for a mainstream audience.
This must be some kind of a joke.
What separates Homelander from conventional superhero villains is that his horror is entirely recognizable. He is not an alien ideology or a foreign threat.
Thank you. Love it.
He is the product of a specific, deeply human failure, the failure of institutions, of media, of celebrity culture, and of a society that builds idols and then hands them everything except accountability. He was created in a laboratory, raised without parents, without touch, without unconditional love. Every interaction in his formative existence was transactional, performed for data, for results, for corporate utility.
A little fist pump to celebrate. And then you turned up the temperature to see if you could burn my skin.
Vote International did not raise a child, they manufactured a product. And the product, deprived of everything that forms a stable human psyche, developed a hunger that no amount of applause could ever fill. He does not want to dominate people because he despises them, though he does, increasingly as the series progresses. He wants to dominate them because domination is the only language of love he was ever taught. Approval is oxygen to him. The moment the crowd stops cheering, something behind his eyes shifts into a register that the smile on his face cannot fully contain.
You don't speak for us! You don't speak for us! You don't speak for us! You don't speak for us!
Anthony Starr's performance is the axis around which the entire series rotates, and what he does with his face is a masterclass in performing the gap between persona and self. What the series understands and what makes Homelander so culturally resonant is that his greatest weapon is not his laser vision, it is his relatability. He speaks in the cadences of patriotism, of sacrifice, of heroism, and a significant portion of the population within the show's world never looks past that engineering. They see the flag on the chest and they fill in everything else themselves. Hannibal Lecter. The name alone carries a weight that most fictional characters never achieve. Anthony Hopkins immortalized him in The Silence of the Lambs, a performance so precisely calibrated, so quietly terrifying, that it earned its place among the greatest villain portrayals in the history of cinema. That version of Hannibal Lecter is untouchable. It is a monument. But there is another version, one that did not have the luxury of a single iconic film to define itself, one that had to earn its darkness slowly, deliberately, across 3 full seasons of television.
You'll have to do it for yourself.
That version is Mads Mikkelsen's portrayal of Hannibal Lecter in Brian Fuller's series Hannibal, which aired from 2013 to 2015, and it is, arguably, the deepest, most psychologically complex depiction of this character ever committed to screen. What Mikkelsen does with this character is not conventional acting. It is something closer to architecture. Every single gesture is load-bearing. Every pause is structural. Every word he chooses feels like it was selected not from vocabulary, but from a catalog of psychological instruments designed specifically for the person sitting across from him. He speaks in a cadence that is almost liturgical, slow, measured, and deeply intentional, as if he is not having a conversation with you, but delivering a private sermon about the precise nature of your own weakness. And the terrifying part is that you lean in, you want to hear more. The series grants Hannibal something the film format fundamentally cannot: time. Time to build trust. Time to construct relationships with surgical patience. Time to make Will Graham, and by extension, the audience, genuinely love a man who murders people, prepares them with extraordinary culinary skill, and serves them at candlelit dinner parties without a single tremor of remorse. That is where the true horror of this portrayal lives. Not in the violence which the show renders with almost painterly beauty, not in the body count. The horror lives in the seduction. In the fact that Hannibal Lecter, as Mikkelsen plays him, is the most attentive, perceptive, and genuinely present person in every room he enters. He listens to you in a way that most people never experience in their entire lives. He sees you completely, and then he decides what to do with what he sees. His philosophy, as the series constructs it, is built on a single devastating principle: that rudeness is the only truly unforgivable sin, and that beauty, in all its forms, justifies everything else. He does not see himself as evil. He sees himself as a curator of people, of experiences, of a world that refuses to live up to its own potential. Brian Fuller's direction and the show's visual language mirror Hannibal's own psychology with extraordinary precision. Every frame is composed like a painting. Every meal looks like a Renaissance still life. The show does not want you to look away from what Hannibal is. It wants you to find it beautiful. And that complicity, that aesthetic seduction the camera itself performs on the viewer, is the most disturbing achievement of the entire series. Mikkelsen never plays Hannibal as a predator in the conventional sense. There is no snarl, no frenzy, no visible hunger. He moves through every scene with the calm of someone who has never once doubted his own judgment, and that absolute, unshakable self-possession is more frightening than any amount of theatrical menace could ever be. Dexter Morgan.
Hello, Dexter Morgan.
Dexter Morgan is the central character of Showtime's Dexter, which ran from 2006 to 2013, based on Jeff Lindsay's novel series beginning with Darkly Dreaming Dexter. He is a blood spatter analyst for the Miami Metro Police Department, one of the best in the country, respected by his colleagues. beloved by his sister, trusted by law enforcement. He is also a serial killer, but the detail that separates Dexter from every other entry on this list, and the detail that makes him perhaps the most socially relevant, is not what he does in the dark. It is how completely, how effortlessly, how permanently he functions in the light. Most villain analysis begins with the question of what a character does. With Dexter Morgan, the far more unsettling question is what he is.
Jesus Christ, Morgan. Jesus fucking Christ, you're the Bay Harbor Butcher. I always knew there was something with you.
Dexter was adopted as a child by Harry Morgan, a Miami police officer who recognized early that the boy he had taken in did not experience the world the way other children did. Harry did not try to cure him, he trained him. He gave Dexter what the series calls the Code, a set of rules designed not to suppress the predatory instinct, but to redirect it. Only kill killers, never get caught, maintain the surface. The Code is not a moral framework, it is an operational one, and that distinction is everything. What the series constructs across 8 seasons is a portrait of a man performing humanity with the discipline and precision of a professional actor who has never once broken character on stage. Dexter does not feel love in the way his sister Deborah feels it, or his colleagues, or his neighbors. He understands love as a behavioral pattern. He has studied it, cataloged it, learned its rhythms and its vocabulary, and he reproduces it with a fidelity so exact that no one around him ever suspects the performance.
You're hiding something. And one day I'm gonna figure out what it is. You are one creep, motherfucker.
This is the specific horror that the series earns and that most crime dramas never attempt. It is not the horror of a monster discovered. It is the horror of a monster never discovered, functional, integrated, promoted, loved. Dexter advances in his career on the basis of genuine expertise. His read of crime scenes is exceptional precisely because he understands the psychology of killers from the inside. His colleagues trust him with their most sensitive cases. His sister trusts him with her life. And he is, by every external measure available to the people around him, exactly who he appears to be. The series forces a question that it never fully answers, and was never designed to how many of the people whose professional competence you rely on, whose social warmth you interpret as evidence of shared humanity, whose presence in your daily life you have never once thought to examine are running a version of the code. How much of what we read as human connection is, in practice, an extremely well-executed simulation of it? Dexter does not answer that question. He simply makes it impossible to unask. His camouflage is not a costume, it is a craft, and the most disturbing implication of that craft is that it works, completely, for years, inside a police department, among people professionally trained to detect deception. John Doe, directed by David Fincher in 1995, introduced the world to John Doe, a killer with no face, no backstory, and no desire for survival. He is not a villain who wants power. He does not want money, recognition, or escape. He wants to prove a point. And that is precisely what makes him one of the most philosophically devastating antagonists ever committed to film. John Doe does not hide. He turns himself in. That single act dismantles every assumption we have about how a killer behaves, and it signals that the real trap has not yet been sprung. Kevin Spacey plays him with an almost theological calm. His stillness communicates something deeply unsettling. This is a man who has already accepted his fate, because his fate is the plan. His philosophy is built on contempt, not hatred, but cold, surgical contempt for a world he believes has surrendered to sin without consequence. He sees himself not as a murderer, but as a messenger.
Freak! Shut your fucking mouth!
And then comes the box. John Doe's final act is not violence, it is architecture. He engineers Mill's destruction using Mill's own love as the weapon. He does not pull the trigger, he makes the hero do it, and in doing so, completes his own ceremony. John Doe wins. Subscribe if you want to keep examining. Leave a comment with the villain you think belongs on a list like this that no one ever talks about. And if you watched all the way to the end, you already know you are exactly the kind of person this channel is built for.